How much crack is safe to do in one day?
I guess it depends how accustomed to crack you are.
Welcome back to part 2 of our Q&A around crack questions. Me and Pete are going to continue with your questions that you've posed to us on the theme of crack climbing.
Yes.
Ready?
Yeah, you're asking me, yeah.
Right, I need a really hard question for you.
Okay. Oh God.
What's the best way to rest in the crack?
Best way to rest in the crack? I guess it depends how big's the crack.
This person has just asked a very generic question.
It's your question, wasn't it?
Don't tell them that.
How do we rest in a crack? Okay, well let's start at let's start at should we start with wide and go down?
Oh, I didn't want that comprehensive an answer. I was just looking for, just a general rule.
A general rule?
Yeah, how do you actually rest in cracks?
How do you rest in cracks? It's a very valid point, actually. How do I rest? How do I actually rest? I'm going to shake out. I think the good thing to look for straight away is obviously, I mean, like with any jamming, is definitely constrictions. So you're looking to actually lock the body rather than use like maybe specific jamming techniques as such. I always try, obviously, like I guess it's like with normal climbing, trying to keep your top hand quite high and keeping off a straight arm. How else would you rest? How else would you rest? Might give me some ideas.
Well, I think the key thing is the mechanics element to it. So finding jams which you have a mechanical advantage to, because there are some jams where you'll use a lot more kind of like a strength element. So you're using the muscle. So it's taking the time, I think, to be able to twist and torque parts of your body, whichever it is that you're relying on, into the crack really effectively. So you haven't got a time window on that rest, so that when you're releasing the other leg, arm, whatever it is you're trying to rest, you're not thinking, oh, I've only got 5 seconds to reach out here and do something with. I could hang on here for 2 minutes because I've jammed the body part in effectively. I think that's the key thing.
Yeah.
And just taking the time to do that.
Again, it's sort of like with normal climbing, you don't want to redline it either.
No.
You know? And you don't want to like go over the threshold. You know, you want to be like breathing and resting before you get to that point. Because with crack climbing, it can be quite repetitive in a way, and like you're getting pumped in your thumbs or whatever it might be. So taking the time not to annihilate yourself, but rest before that happens.
I think that was a great question from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe you exposed my planted question.
Oh,
I can't get away with anything.
No. What's the next one?
Is this guy called Handjam Henry?
Henjam Barry.
Oh no, Handjam. It's my dyslexia coming through.
Oh yeah, how do you free up your hands when moving through stacked jams? I mean, we've just covered this. You find no hands rest.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, this is a really simple one. If you want to move your hands, then you need to be able to jam another part of your body, which is going to be the lower limbs, so from your waist downwards. So it could be a hip, it could be a knee, or it could be a heel toe, or a combination of those. That is your way to be able to move.
And you're jamming them to be able to release that body part, aren't you? Yeah. So it's a way to rest as well.
Yeah.
It's a way to rest.
Could have used that one the last time.
I could have used that. Yeah.
How much crack is safe to do in one day?
I guess it depends how accustomed to crack you are.
Yeah. Crack history.
Yeah, your crack history. If you've done a lot of crack in the past, you can do a lot now. If you haven't done a lot, then you might want to sort of take it easy. But there's no specific rule.
You improve your technique even further because it's something that is really rewarded by time spent doing it. So both of us are really encouraging of just do as much crack climbing as possible. So time on that, task, and you'll see much bigger improvements rather than, loads of strength training or some other form of climbing. You just won't see the transfer.
And we always say a good one, well, it's what you always say actually, is that to do a mile of each size. So if you do a mile of each size, then you will become proficient and good in that size. That's what we say, 1 mile. 1 mile of hand jams of this width, 1 mile of hand jams of this width, 1 mile of hand jams of cupping and twisting, 1 mile of fist jams, 1 mile of teacup jams, then you become proficient.
God, a mile of teacup jams.
Yeah. how do you transition from layback to crack, and vice versa?
So how do you move from laybacking a crack?
Yeah, laybacking a crack
Jamming
to jamming a crack.
in the crack.
Yeah. So I guess we're sort of talking about like a corner crack, really, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay, so I think the key on this one is to move your body into a position where you're not losing the advantage that you have from laybacking. So often your laybacking is that you can get your feet quite close to your hands, so you've got a lot of tension or opposition between your hands and your feet on either side of the crack. But you want to keep the body position where you can remain with that tension, so you're not going to slip with your feet in particular, and you're able to get the wrist and the hand or whatever body part it is around the edge of the crack to get that jam before you then transition into a straight on position. Because if you come round onto the crack and into the crack too much, I think there's a really high chance of your feet slipping because you have lost that tension and advantage that you have in that laybacking position. And of course the opposite sort of applies if you do that in reverse, isn't it? So that as you move from the jamming position into the layback, you need to make sure that you hold on to a jam for as long as possible whilst getting yourself into a laybacking position, and then you can release it and then move on.
I sometimes also think that if you're in that layback position and you're smearing with your feet here on the wall, actually getting this outside leg in the crack that way. So when you come round, you're standing on a bit of a platform, and you can come into the jams when you're sort of halfway round, sort of like using that outside leg to like a bit of a platform to pull you around and then get into the hand jams or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
Yeah.
It's a tricky scenario though.
Yeah.
It's one that when you have to do it on a route, you're thinking it could go wrong here.
Yeah, totally.
Try and avoid it as much as possible if you possibly can. Okay, next question is, how do you do cracks that are at a steep angle of really leaning far to the left or to the right? So
like a diagonal.
Yeah, so those really steep diagonal cracks.
Steep diagonal crack.
Yeah.
Well, it's both hands and foot positioning. So if we talk about foot positioning first, so if we imagine a diagonal going up this way and we're climbing from right to left, definitely using that top foot. Our top foot would be our right foot, and we'd have that in the crack, and using that foot as like a hand, I always try and think. So you're like grabbing onto the crack and like sort of hanging off it in a way. And then using your left foot as like the balance foot on the rock. So, you'd look for like smears or edges or whatever it is. And you're using that as like the balance leg to make sure your whole body isn't swinging and barn dooring away from the lean.
Yeah.
And a good technique, if there is nothing to stand on with your feet, is to actually just paste your lower foot, just paste it flat on the wall like that. If it's like vertical or slabby, and there's nothing to edge on or whatever, just pasting the foot straight on the wall.
Yeah,
and just using.
I think that big flat smearing foot on the bottom foot is really useful.
Yeah.
And the ability to be able to frog out as well, so that you can hang off the top foot in the crack and really drop low on it, but also get loads of rubber on the bottom foot.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird technique actually, and requires a bit of practice, and you have to kind of learn how to hang off the joints and the body and the limbs appropriately for it. And it's a bit of a sort of niche style in a way. It's strenuous as well.
Yeah, they can be strenuous. Yeah, definitely.
I always feel hard for the grade.
Yeah. In conclusion, top foot, you're sort of trying to use it as a hand. Bottom foot, you're using as like support and a post to stop you sort of like barn dooring out. And
Last one.
Last one. All of our hands are different sizes. Can you make a reference to cam sizes?
I think this question is,
It's not really.
if you're crack climbing and you're talking about a section and you're climbing on it, is it appropriate to call down to your partner and say, this is yellow size 2 friends, or this is 2.5 size friends? And I would say, actually, even though your partner might have really different sizes, I think the protection that you use is the kind of like the universal size that you can reference to. So I would never call down to Pete and say, it's perfect fish jamming up here. Because for Pete, he'll never get his fist in. It's too wide. He'll have to do sort of like a weird cupped hand thing. Whereas if I say to him, it's really tight friend fours, he knows that that's for him is really tight, but is perfect fist for me. And that's a really good reference point. So yeah, using protection sizes is a good way to go. And
I think it's knowing your hand size to the protection size.
Yeah.
So you know that like a red coloured cam is a thin hand jam, and you know that a tight gold is going to be like a tight hand jam, and a normal gold is a normal hand jam. And yeah, I think it's just knowing what it is. Yeah. But for other people, it's going to be like a red could be a hand jam, or that kind of stuff.
I wish my reds were hand jams.
Yeah. Not when you get further up the scale though.
I know.
So
these days, even golds aren't barely hand jams sometimes.
yeah.
Like, give me some blues.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you do a lot of crack climbing. Your hands change size. We will try and be active about replying to further stuff in the comments. You're very welcome to put more stuff below, and we'll kind of answer additional questions.
Brilliant.
That's it. Wrap it up.
Yep. Wrap it up.
Cool.
What wrap today?
See you soon.
Goodbye.
What was the last thing you said? One wrap a day.
What wrap today?